Yes, good morning to everybody. Just a few words to present myself. I'm going to chair this morning's session, not doing actually very much because we have some excellent speakers who really know their job. My name is Jan van der Borg. I'm teaching tourism economics and applied economics at the University of Venice. And since last September at the University of Leuven, the Catholic University of Leuven. I am the official sort of coordinating person of this partner, the Venice Foscari University, but I have to admit that the shadow coordinator of the whole program has been my friend, my colleague Margareta Breij, and I think for Venice. I mean, obviously the coordinator is Stelios, but for Venice, you have been the shadow coordinator, and I would like to thank you for all the work you've done, which has, in the end, brought us all together here in Venice University. Okay, I'm not going to lose very much time. I think we can have the first speaker here, if that is okay for you. It's Stelios, I think, or who's going to give us an overview of the project. I don't know where you want us to have Stelios, or which mic should be. I'm going to shift to a more peripheral position.
So it's fine here. Yes. Good morning, everybody, from my side also, and thanks for the very warm welcome. I would like to welcome you all also from the LINCC side, from the representing the consortium. I think this is a very nice place that we selected to talk about climate change and also to have the final conference of the project called Linking European, African and Asian Academic Networks in the Field of Climate Change. I'm going to give you an overview of the project activities and of the project outcomes. You're going to have more details about the outcomes of the project from some colleagues and partners of the consortium, but also we have today some more distinguished speakers that they're going to talk about related issues to the project objectives. I would like to mention here and emphasize that our project is funded by the Erasmus Mundus program of the European Commission, and I would like to spend a few words on that. On the main objectives of the Erasmus Mundus program that boosts cooperation and mobility in the field of higher education, and in particular aims to enhance the quality of European higher education, promote dialogue and understanding between people and cultures through cooperation with third countries, and to develop international cooperation capacity of higher education institutions in third countries by increasing mobility and exchange of students and staff. So within this framework, we met 2 years ago with some colleagues from different universities sharing same problems and thoughts about the issue of climate change and education, and we decided to form this consortium. So I would like to spend a few slides on the importance and urgency of climate change and how this topic emerged through the initial meetings we had with our colleagues and partners. So according to Nicholas Stern and of a study that was commissioned in 2007, climate change is the greatest externality the world has ever seen. Nicholas Stern, distinguished economist, use somehow economic terms to express the urgency and importance of the issue of climate change, of the problem that has been caused by certain activities and is shared globally. So it's the greatest externality that the world has ever seen because it affects everybody on Earth. In 2009, 26 distinguished climate scientists, actually environmental scientists, produced a study on the safe operating Earth systems and identifying the safe boundaries where our Earth systems are operating at the moment. What we see here is that in 3 of those Earth systems, we are already operating outside the safe boundaries. One of those is climate change, as you can see, which means we are operating at an area with great uncertainty and great risks that might cause irreversible impacts and might affect the habitability of the planet. Maybe you have seen this famous graph that shows the correlation between the CO2 emissions, the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere, and the temperature change, increase. So this shows the correlation between those 3 factors. So the idea is that by burning more fossil fuels, we emit more carbon emissions in the atmosphere, which has as a consequence the increase of the average Earth temperature. I have to say here that this is the average Earth temperature, which means in certain parts of the world, the increase of temperature is much more than 1.1 degrees of Celsius. And based on latest IPCC projections, this will be accelerated in the future. If you believe that climate change is caused by human activities, then you agree with the vast majority, which is the 97% of scientists, of climate scientists, based on a study of thousands of peer-reviewed articles. And you can see the great difference between those scientists that agree and believe that climate change, global warming is caused by human activities, and very few scientists that disagree with this evidence. But what about the general public? We see that there is a consensus in the scientific community. What this graph shows here is the level of consensus or belief on the fact that climate change is caused by human activities. So what we can see here that climatologists who are actively publishing and being engaged in research, 98% believe that climate change is caused by human activities. Non-climatologists, non-publishers, about 90% believe, again, that climate change is caused by human beings. And you see, the more scientists are actively engaged in research, the more they believe that climate change is caused by human beings. But how about the general public? We see that there is big difference and big discrepancy between the science and the general public view, which is about 56%, and this is an average. So there are countries where public polls and public opinion is even less than 55%, and we're talking also about developed countries. So even in US and UK, this percentage is about 50%. So we all thought that something is wrong with that. How come the scientific community reached consensus on this major problem and still this message has not passed to the public? So there is a lack of awareness about the urgency of the problem of climate change. And this has been also emphasized by the last IPCC reports and last IPCC projections that shows that average Earth temperature might rise from 1.5 to 6 degrees of Celsius in 2100. So based on this context, background, knowing the urgency of the issue and the lack of awareness of the public, we thought that climate change is something that we need to speak loudly about, and we thought that education and research have a major role to play on that. So those are the partners of the project, the partners that we came together to discuss how we could form this project, what will be the objectives of this project. So I'm going quickly through this list and acknowledge all partners and their contribution to the project. Each partner, each university has expertise in different fields. As you know, climate change is a multidisciplinary field that is a cross-cutting issue and has implications for all different sectors. And of course, we could reduce greenhouse gas emissions in many different sectors. So multidisciplinarity was essential to talk about climate change. So the consortium was formed by 5 European universities and 4 non-European ones. The Institute for Housing and Urban Development Studies, part of Erasmus University in Rotterdam, is the coordinating institute. The Radboud University of Nijmegen in the Netherlands, Kofoskara University of Venice, the host of our final conference, Vilnius University from Lithuania, the Rotterdam University of Applied Science, also from the Netherlands, and our partners, the non-European partners, University Ateneo de Manila from the Philippines, Gadjah Mada University from Indonesia, Catholic University of Semarang, also from Indonesia, and University of Witwatersrand from South Africa. The main objectives of our project: to improve higher education in the field of climate change, both at the European level, but also at the countries where our partners are located. And the sub-objectives of this project, as I mentioned before, to create awareness on the field of climate change, to improve access to European higher education in the field of climate change, to promote collaboration of academic networks in the field of climate change, and facilitate the exchange of information, knowledge, and experiences on climate change. The main activities that we perform within the project and some outcomes, first of all, was to design an e-platform, which is the actual website where we share climate change related information about the problem, but also store information about climate change related programs where students can find also related information on enrollment requirements, visa requirements, and so on. Also, another objective of this e-platform was really to be the platform of linking different experts and networks in the field of climate change. The next activity was to organize conferences and promotional seminars. So to organize and conduct 3-day promotional seminars, mainly for climate awareness, and provide practical information about student exchange and mobility, and also to organize a kickoff conference and the final conference, which is taking place today. And last but not least, to design, develop, and pilot an e-course on climate change. So we developed 3 e-modules on different topics on climate change. This is the website. This is the address of the website that I just mentioned before. This is a screenshot of how the website looks like. And the main objectives of this platform to provide information to students for studying climate change, but also is functioning as the project website, information about the project activities, the project outcomes, and so on. And as I said before, also provides a platform to link academics and experts in the field of climate change. We're going to have a presentation and more details on that by my colleague Somesh Sharma tomorrow. Then the LNCC database on climate change related master's programs, we're going to see also some more details on this output of the project by Rick Heikop. This provides an overview of the European master's programs related to climate change where students can access, and this database is embedded into the LNCC website. Then our e-course, we developed 3 e-modules that our colleagues are going to present also today. The first e-module focuses on climate change science, the second on climate change knowledge management and computer systems, and the third on climate change from a local perspective. And the last activity, the organization of promotional events. So we organized the kickoff conference in Yogyakarta, 2 promotional seminars, 1 in Manila and 1 in Johannesburg, and today the final conference in Venice. We're going to present more details about these experiences and outcomes of those meetings and events later today also. So the first day of the conference is dedicated on presenting mainly some activities and outcomes from the LNCC project, but also we'll have some additional and important related presentations. The second day will focus on climate change, higher education needs and practices, where we'll have more speakers to talk about the needs for climate change from an education perspective, but also practices to tackle and meet those needs. So I would like to thank you for your attention and to wish you a very fruitful conference. And again, a big thank you for organizing this event.
Thank you, Stelios, for your presentation and for your thanks to us. I'm going to invite the second speakers of the second paper to the floor.
Thank you.
Now.
Thank you, Jan.
Who is going to present?
I'm going to present the whole e-course, which has been organized together by Arturas Kaklauskas, Somesh Sharma, and myself. And I'm going to present the whole of the 3 modules of the courses, and then if you have specific questions, both of my colleagues are here and will be very glad to answer to your more specific questions. So the idea of including e-courses into the program was to give some sort of an entrance portal for people coming from universities from outside Europe into climate change related studies and courses inside the EU universities. And so it was necessary not only to provide knowledge about which courses are available and what do they offer, that's more the platform what it is about, but to address specific needs to help people to get into the courses, to adapt to eventually a bit different sort of teaching systems. And one incentive should have been to, was to create some initial points already, which can then be spent during the studies in Europe. Okay, so we started with asking ourselves what are specific needs of students coming to European universities, and we started a questionnaire and then a survey among teaching personnel who had either sent out students from Asian or African universities to European universities and had some information about their specific problems, potential needs. And we were talking about we were talking and interviewing teaching personnel in Europe who were came in contact with students from countries outside Europe to understand what are the differences between European students and them and how we can assist them. What was pointed out in this survey were three main areas, which was one, the scientific facts could help to have a better information and have more knowledge about specific facts. But what was emphasized very much was the two areas of soft skills, so the capacity of team working, of autonomously studying and elaborating knowledge, which has first been transmitted to transform the transmission process in something which is more, where the student is becoming more active, and related to that, the capacity of understanding rather than only absorbing the facts which are conveyed in a lecture. So our course was articulated in three modules, a bit according to these three areas of knowledge. There was a first element which is very much focusing on climate science and transmitting a lot of facts and really scientific, introducing and helping to understand the scientific information related to climate change and climate change impacts. And connected to that in the second module, specific systems and computer-aided systems for knowledge management. And the third module giving more an introduction to the local point of view on and what the practice of planning for climate change can mean, and can mean working for that in a team. Each of the modules had to last 2 weeks and was conceived for a workload of 56 hours and produced an ETC, 2 ETC points each. So a student could accumulate 6 ETC points, which could then be spent in his course in a European university. The first module, which was organized by us here in Venice, had the chance to recycle, not really, but we relied heavily on a course which had already been tested in collaboration with Asian practitioners, built up in the Clima project, which is an Asia Link project organized some 2 or 3 years ago, with where VU was collaborating very much. And we updated the data, integrated and adapted it to the specific needs of this module, explaining how the climate system is working, or giving an introduction to explanations of that, and looking at issues like impacts. What is the specific problem? What are the specific problems for the developing countries, and specific problems connected to energy policies, always in the relationship with development and development needs. This was very much based on transmitting knowledge. Although we try to use discussion boards and having feedbacks from the students to control that the knowledge has arrived and has been properly understood by using individual assignments, short essays, multiple choice tests. And the element of group working we tried to introduce was to build a wiki during the course, where groups of students had elaborated together the material for single teams, for single arguments. Okay. So it was always introduction to the argument in a sort of lecture, a text which substitutes a lecture, indicating further readings, for instance, chapters of the IPCC reports, and discussed with the students in email contacts and mainly in discussion boards, which is one of the instruments used in the electronic platform, which was at the basis of the physical basis of this organization, which was a Blackboard course system. Okay. We used multiple choice tests, essays, and wikis. The second module was on the whole area of knowledge management, integrated assessment models, and tools for integrated assessment and knowledge management, neural networks, computer learning systems, and we relied heavily on existing videos in the internet, organizing giving access to existing lectures in the internet from the top 20 universities. It was very much interactive, trying to involve heavily the student and make them themselves elaborate the knowledge, rather than having this frontal approach, which was more prevalent in the first module. It used a lot of interactive tools made by the Vilnius University, which was responsible with Arturas, who's sitting there, and there in their multiple choice system and the computer-based learning systems, and had related to that both individual, very well organized individual exercises where the group building element consisted of correcting, vice versa, or commenting on the essays of peers and integrating the comments of the peers into its own into its own essay. So very interesting form of group work there. And use of group building in group work on a computer-aided learning system. I think Arturas can explain that later on if you are interested better how that has worked. It is based mainly on the multi-criteria exercise, multi-criteria evaluation exercise on different adaptation planning issues. Some of the outputs are shown here. And the third module, organized by IHS, was on climate change planning, using the decision support tools in group work, presenting good practice case studies and examples, and developing a climate strategy in an interactive. This was the assignment and the interactive group exercise, using again a multi-criteria approach. The main objective was to provide access to the systematic building of criteria, a set of criteria for decision making in this local planning context. And the objective of planning was climate change mitigation, both mitigation and adaptation based on vulnerability assessments and emission and mitigation needs assessments. Okay. The 4 sections were dedicated to planning, to decision support tools, and the final one to develop the local climate change strategy based on this sort of based on shared spreadsheets. You use the Google web-based platform for sharing documents among students. Where they described their strategy, the criteria, how they evaluated the alternatives, and so on. Again, Somesh is here, and I think he can better explain than myself what the exercise, how the exercise worked, and what the specific problems were, and the success. We repeated this group of 3 modules, the course so consisting of 3 models, twice, once in the end of 2012, first weeks of 2013, and a second time from April to June 2013. We had overall 88 participants coming from 21 countries, if I counted well. About 35% of the participants did not only go for one module, but choose 2 of all 3 of them. The map in the background shows more or less shows all the countries students came from. So we were covering most part of the developing world, at least with 1 or 2 countries representing it, and some developed countries too, like Spain, UK, and Germany. Feedbacks we had from students were most of them were very positive on the information they learned. No, all of them were positive on the information they received. But the problems obviously were to coordinate in group work, especially when different time zones came into the play. What I personally noticed is those groups who already knew each other. I saw on the blackboard the exchanges, you are there because I met you in Rotterdam. And those who already personally knew each other had much less problems of starting to collaborate. Whereas collaboration in just on the based on the discussion board was a bit difficult to start because nobody had really the idea on which characteristics to stick on and how to choose a potential collaboration partner. More interaction with teachers is needed. Obviously, that means, and it meant for the 3 of us that we, during these 2 weeks, were permanently present and every quarter of an hour had an eye on the discussion board in order to be able to respond almost in real time, at least during Central or European working hours, on what was going on there. The tools Somesh tried with for the online sharing of documents has been very useful, but the same holds also for the wiki, which was an element of the blackboard, which has been used by all students. And students wished a more real-time interaction. We try to do that sometimes, to have to fix a date, so we meet all on the blackboard and on the discussion board, and then questions and answers come back and forth, and this was really successful, and people took the time to be there. Okay. From our part, the challenge was really to organize group work, because this is very difficult among students who don't know each other. Maintain participation active. Not all participants really always had a look onto the blackboard and onto the discussion board. Promptly respond to any query. Obviously, I hope nobody expected us to do this from midnight to 3 in the morning. And to impose deadlines. And this links to another issue which we did not emphasize in the students' feedbacks, but the time issue was very problematic, and somebody really fell out because he underestimated the challenge of following a course like that in 2 weeks and having, for instance, a regular work beside that. So somebody really dropped out of the course because of that. So deadlines were very difficult to make to be respected. Whereas one issue we were expecting would be problematic, that is internet connection or quality of internet connection, I only had one case. Somebody who said me, oh, I was offline for 2 days and then he succeeded in recovering, but somebody else really didn't, simply was not able to participate. But this was only isolated, very isolated cases, and this dealing with countries in the developing world, I think, was a good success. One thing to say is that we try to keep the technical level and the requirements for connection also quite low. That means that many of the more sophisticated interaction things, and so we did not rely on that. So that's why discussion board and not video conference, for instance. Okay. Another good idea by Somesh was to organize the groups. He organized the working groups according to time zones. You see that. And this was in order to help them to be able to meet in real time on the discussion board. Okay, it was a pilot, so the idea is to keep this going and to keep this as an opportunity, not to let it finish after two times we employed it. And there were two possible scenarios on how to organize that. To integrate them into existing web pages, either maintaining the LeanCC web page or in those used by our partners, partner universities, or by anybody else who wishes to use the material. This is a good idea for all these more monodirectional things. This teaching material, the indication of further readings, the links to video conferences and videos, and also the feedback element of multiple choice tests can give a first idea of the student whether he has really understood. So it is a useful tool for an idea like that, whether he really has understood the material or whether he needs to reread the introductions. What is not possible and what seemed very important during our experience is the personalized feedback during the assignments, especially when talking about, and then please remember once more what we said in the beginning, soft skills are very important. So being personally able or enabling the student to autonomously elaborate the material and the knowledge and reproduce it. So this sort of exercise is difficult to organize if it's not followed by specific teaching personals. Interactive tools like wiki and group works are difficult or impossible to make, and the deadlines obviously cannot be implemented, although it could be a part of the soft skill aspect, not so much emphasized, but to respect deadlines would be a good exercise for everybody. The second hypothesis is that partner universities autonomously decide to reuse the material and dedicating teaching personnel in that case. That means there are resources needed, and it is really that one person is teaching for 2 weeks continuously. So this needs to be taken into account, and this means resources, not counting on all the administrative efforts behind that, collecting the applications so that you can control who is participating, and in order to be able to emit certificates. This makes, obviously, all these interactive elements can be implemented in this case, but it is not for free. Okay. So what is going to happen now? I think this is one of the arguments we will discuss today. How we would like to, the material is there, but there are some caveats on saying it is there and you can use it. Thank you very much. And
Just a very quick question. You are saying sometimes you're saying difficult, sometimes you're saying impossible, because I understand the difficulties. I mean, when you're presenting the slides and the stuff, are things difficult to implement or impossible to implement? I think that makes a lot of sort of sense to discuss that also for the just make us understand whether you see some perspectives in doing the interactive, in implementing deadlines and so forth, or not.
yeah, it's possible if it's managed. If there is somebody who has the possibility to stay there for 2 weeks and dedicate all his time or almost all his time in that period onto the course. Or whether you have the
possible but difficult rather than impossible.
Yes. Without resources, it's impossible.
Any other questions?
Maybe one question on the problems, in a sense, if you do it for the second time. I think many of the problems arose because you did it, or we did it for the first time. Wouldn't many of these problems maybe be possible to be solved and become kind of a list of frequently asked questions? So we know now what's going to happen. So in that sense, it links up a little bit to the previous question. Is it difficult or impossible because it was the first time? Difficult because it was the first time? Or is it something that might improve when we do it the second time?
No, I think we had actually 2 rounds. We had the first course, first time all the 3 modules were run at the end of 2012. And so the experience of that time were used for the second time. Some of the problems remain and are connected to the online character, to the distance learning character of the exercise. That means it is a bit difficult to get groups working and get people collaborate who do not know each other. And albeit Facebook and all these talking about social platforms and social networks, and so people who never met each other do not have the relationship to be very confident to work together. So this is an objective difficulty, and it remains, and it is a challenge. It can be somehow. It works somehow also because you oblige the students to do so. But it is one of the difficult but not impossible things. You can solve this, and you need to put a lot of energy into that. And this is one thing we learned, and we try to do better the second time. And the other thing which needs to be taken into account and needs to be publicized at the beginning when a student decides to enroll for the project for the course is that it's time intensive. And online courses seem to be something you can take them, together with the evening news. And that's not that's not the way it is.
Judgments were very positive, saying that they were really learning something that could be used for further work. But it's also rewarding.
I had the climatologists in my course, and they was okay because it gave an overview on more than only climate change science.
Thanks a lot, Margareta, for that the presentation and the experience that has come out of it. And I guess my question relates to what we will be discovering in the course of today and tomorrow, subsequent presentations. And I know it was still an issue even when we did cover the presentations in Johannesburg promotion seminar. It's really the question of what the students were expecting when they took these courses with regard to certifications, with regard to what do they do with the ECTs now and all that. And I guess we are still struggling, and I'm not too sure if there has been a new insight in terms of what could actually be done with those credits, given the fact that even though we are a league of institutions, our own institutions are not necessarily positioned to actually take those credits and then either give the certificates to the respective students if they are not registered with us. I guess that was still a dilemma. I am not too sure if we have found a way, and I guess whether it comes from you now or whether it will come out of the activities and presentations of the conference, I think it would be quite nice if we have a perspective on that.
Okay, if I can just add, holding the mic gives me privileges, of course. No, my question adds to Daniel, that's why I'm sort of adding it on. I think that the point is here also that we've looked at these modules as being technical modules, or closed modules, if you like, and perhaps if we think of this approach as something more of a community aspect, then I think first of all it would respond to the question of trust and do we know the other people, and the second aspect would also be that the peer review, which is another issue because we were spending a lot of time on these courses, but if peer review then becomes a logical rather than a required element in these course approaches, then I think we're also taking away some of, let's say, the financial issues, or at least the obligation that we have because we're offering these modules. So it will take a different form, perhaps.
Yes, obviously also peer reviews is possible to organize only if you set a deadline, the course starts then and the course finishes then, not a thing which is continuously available on the website. And that implies that there's somebody following it. With regards to ETC, I recognized one name. I think it was of one of our students, Ina Ocon, who's going to be there tomorrow. And he or she came to study in the Netherlands after having taken the course. But I don't know how it is for you, but for the model I was taking care of, a lot of people told me we are using that for our professional work, either working in government institutions, somebody working in climate change related institutions or networks, and the at least in the second round, the element of wanting to study in Europe was not the primary reason why they took the code. It was very much on spreading knowledge on climate change and climate change impact.
Just one note on that. I think the development and application of the e-course was more in a learning by doing. Since we piloted, it was the first time, so we learned from the first round, we improved the second, and I think it's important now to continue. So this sustainability of the e-course, how we're going to apply it again, if we're going to deal with these certification issues or not, this is something and will be a subject of discussion within the project meeting. So I think definitely we should take this further and move forward. So.
Okay, so probably just a short question related to that. How did you actually recruit the students? So who was the target group? Because you said something that was more targeting like professionals rather than normal students, right?
Good question. We actually had developed a selection criteria, which it had several. I don't remember all the points now, but we do have a tool in which we consider what is the professional background, what is the previous qualification, how the participant will be able to use the knowledge gained in this course. So there is a set of 8 or 9 criteria, and there are some minimum qualifications for that. So based on that, we select the participants. They apply for. We get applications, and then uh, we put it in a criteria. There is a score and weightage across every criteria, so according to merit. Though it was like, but it was based on merit. Yes. You- Alumni network, of course. Yeah, we do. We do. Yeah, quite so. Yeah. That's why we needed to develop the criteria.
Yes, web pages is a very powerful instrument, but I think we can do even better and have more applications, more diverse application, of course, when we are going to repeat this course.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I'm fairly new to this community, so my name is Jörg Schasinski. I'm with the United Nations University in Bonn, Institute for Environment and Human Security. I saw that there has been tremendous work in the frame of this project, and I think therefore it's really one of my thoughts here for the next 2 days that we discuss how this can be continued over the next time. And I see a lot of options in terms of, for example, first of all, bringing this into the wider network of all these communities working on climate change, also the officially mandated one like the UNFCCC, the Climate Secretariat. Of course, they are very interested in getting in touch with such a curriculum and such modules. And then secondly, when it comes to accreditation, you can think of some European associations or worldwide networks that do quality assessment in e-learning. So these are options. They are also sometimes community-based. And last but not least, you can also think about the further development into blended learning approaches, because that is always criticized a lot by students, that there is not this physical contact. But if you would think of having at least 1 or 2 meetings where they can really meet physically and the rest would then go over e-learning, that of course would be one option. But this of course again is connected to funding, as I see a reaction directly. Yeah, yeah, sure. And last but not least, as we are talking here on the international level, I think it's always worth also to think about open educational resources. And of course that has to go along certain rules, because all of you have invested a lot of time into the establishment of these courses, but there are ways to do so, and also in the sense of training trainers worldwide, so that at one point you could really hand over your material in a common sense that other teachers, other universities around the world could pick up. We just had a very interesting example here together with other colleagues from other UN agencies. It's a partnership on environment and disaster risk reduction, which is also taking place in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, where the same was developed, e-learning modules, and then a training of trainers concept really to multiply this content into the world. But I'm looking forward to further discussions. Thank you.
I happen to have seen this website called Coursera.org. It's actually of American origin. But what they do there is they have a variety of topics, and universities such as Princeton putting up their lectures for free. And I think the ethos behind that is thinking that it's also an advertising tool. So you can have certain courses that are for free that you are using into your in your university in normal teaching, and you put them up for free for people to follow, and that may have an outcome in such as like, well, you decide to go study there after some time. So I think it's the idea of sharing and openness. It's something that we should embrace. I know that there are costs involved in producing these modules, but if we want to, now that we have them, we can embed them in our own courses here in VU or in IHS, so we can still make use of them. They'll never go wasted. So I think whatever however this goes, we have gained.
We are going to interrupt this session with a very deserved coffee break.